Chapter 15, Chapter 14, The Secret of Hometown. Chapter 14, The Secret of Hometown. The trip back from Corsair to Oria was moderately unpleasant. While Jean proved to be a good traveling companion, their guest was anything but, as Ryu had suspected, her willingness to turn herself in had faded rapidly the further away from Sima Fort they traveled. She made an escape attempt at least once a night, sometimes more, slipping out of her bonds no matter how securely they locked the chains around her. It was only through constant vigilance that they were able to keep her from getting away, but they managed it all the same, until the afternoon they crossed Mount Phoebe.
Now remember, Jean, this might not be up to the standards you're expecting,
Ryu cautioned him as they approached the ruins.
We're just starting up, so we kind of had to work with what was available, in terms of places to set up shop. Whatever it is, it shall be magnificent to my eyes, mon ami.
Jean promised him dramatically.
It is not the price of a home, but the heart, that is important. Probably some rat-infested pit,
Patty grumbled, clinking along behind them, wrapped in ropes and chains from shoulders to knees.
With no ceiling, and the walls falling down, and some ancient hobo sleeping on the floor. Roach-infested, actually, when we first moved in,
Sten told her cheerfully, reaching over with one long arm to give her a light shove.
The big-ass Sima kind. The boss and his buddy cleared them out, but we could probably find some more for you if you really want. Ah, the mademoiselle would like to try my cockroach and green onion salad.
Jean asked, oblivious.
You should have requested it before you left. I would have been glad to prepare one for you to try. Ugh.
Patty grimaced.
Okay, here we are. Now.
Ryu said, trailing off as he stared in shock. What had been 2 buildings when they'd left was now 11, 3 in a row, spreading south of their own home. They were pleasant-looking stone houses, white with blue roofs, but in his current state of mind, Ryu didn't really notice or care.
Hey,
Nina murmured after a moment.
That's different. Well, shit,
Patty said, as the others remained silent.
I was wrong. What the hell?
Kat yelled.
What is this? Last time, okay, I understood, but this? What's going on here? Suddenly, that guy in the bar's rumor about a town springing up down here makes a lot more sense,
Rand recalled, wincing.
That one really should have tipped us off. Leave it all to Granny, we said,
Sten muttered disgustedly.
She'll sort it out, we said. Yeah, right. Oh, no.
Ryu shook his head, marching towards the far side of town with the others in tow.
I don't think so. Bao was here too. He knows something about this, and we're going to find out what it is, right now.
He glared up at a young man with unruly blonde hair and an absent-minded expression who was doing something on one of the roofs.
And who are you supposed to be? I'm the painter.
The guy yelled back, holding up a brush.
I do not understand, mon amis,
Jean said curiously as they continued towards their home.
Is there some sort of problem? There's going to be one, if there isn't a good explanation for this.
Kat vowed, cracking her knuckles.
You have all of this, and you're bitching about it.
Patty asked dryly.
That settles it. You are all crazy. Shut up. All right, I'm going out for a bore,
Bao called over one shoulder as he opened the door, just as they approached it. Seeing them, he blinked.
Oh, hey guys. You're back. We are,
Ryu agreed, fighting to keep his voice calm.
And unless I'm mistaken, it seems that we now appear to be the proud owners of our own village. Possibly even a town, if this keeps up for much longer. Yeah, ain't it great?
Bao looked around.
They really did some good work. Did you see Lacquer out there? He's putting the last touches on the paint today. Pretty lucky for us his uncle brought him along. Bao.
Ryu took a deep breath before continuing, reminding himself that Bao was his oldest, best friend and that throttling him probably wouldn't go over well.
Why do we have a village, Bao? I think it started with some kind of bet those 3 carpenters made when they were drunk or something, actually.
Bao scratched his head.
Something about seeing who could completely rebuild one of these houses first. Then after that, they just kept going. None of them asked us to pay for it, so we didn't stop them. They're each living in one, but the other 6 aren't occupied right now. There are so many things I could say to this, but I won't,
Nina said dryly.
Probably smart,
Rand told her.
Fine.
Ryu buried his face in his hands.
Just fine. We're the town council now. Hey, maybe next time we come back here it'll be a freakin' city, and then the time after that, an entire freakin' country down here. Why not, right? You feeling okay, buddy?
Bao asked, raising an eyebrow.
You seem a little tense.
He seemed to see Patty for the first time, and his eyes lit up.
Hey, that's her. You got her. All right. Finally, I can clear my name. Speaking of names, I do have one, you know.
She rolled her eyes, then regarded him coolly. It was the first time she had looked at any of them that calmly.
So you're the guy who got nailed when I slipped out? Sorry about that, but it's nothing personal. Business, you know. Course I do,
Bao replied just as easily.
So long as you understand me taking you in to get out of this noose is the exact same thing. Boy, do I ever.
She inclined her head towards them.
These guys wouldn't let me forget it all the way back home. You would think I stole your life savings or something.
She sniffed dismissively.
Besides, Trout's total scum. He had it coming. Really?
Nina raised an eyebrow.
I take it you aren't referring to the rumors everybody's heard. You know something more substantial. Forget it.
She shook her head in disgust.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. I dunno, we'd believe some pretty crazy shit,
Bao told her.
Try us. We'll hear you out. Yeah, right.
She glared away from them, pouting.
Come on,
he wheedled, but she remained silent.
Forget it,
Ryu told his partner. He recognized her mood by now after a week on the road with her.
She'll be like this for the rest of the day. Well, whatever.
Bao shrugged.
Not our problem, anyways. You did get his loot back, right? Not gonna be much good without it. We're pretty sure we have the magic hood, at least,
Ryu replied.
The guards at Sima took it off her, and a bunch of gold and jewelry, too. Knowing her, it's probably not all of Trout's stash, but hopefully it'll be enough to convince him to let you off the hook. It better be.
Bao glanced at Jean.
Guards at Sima hey? Take it this has something to do with the new guy. Bonjour, Monsieur Bao.
Jean bowed deeply, flourishing one hand.
I am Jean, and I am pleased to make your acquaintance at long last. I have heard so much about you. Hopefully we will be good friends, yes. Sure.
Bao blinked.
This must be some story. You have no freaking idea.
Cat glanced towards the forest.
Let's go find that boar, hey? Think we could all use something to eat? We'll tell the story once we get back. Sounds good.
Bao nodded.
By the way, would you happen to know anything about some girl who's apparently Santa's little sister? Popped in a while back. Oh, Siso.
Ryu glanced over towards the shorter building.
Yeah, that's part of the story. I guess it's for the best she made it here. Doesn't seem as bad as her sister, but even so, you did have that door bricked up, right? First thing.
Bao agreed.
Good. Did I hear my name?
Siso opened the door to their house and looked out, then waved.
Oh, hi. Bao told me you guys lived next door. Nice to see you back again. How've you been?
She trailed off, staring at Jean, then slowly smiled, a heavy blush rising on her pale cheeks.
Oh, my. Who's this gentleman? Oh, no.
Nina sighed.
Here it goes. Here what goes?
Sana shoved her sister down so she could lean out over her head.
Oh, hey there oof.
She grunted as Granny did the same to her.
Well, 1 out of 5 isn't bad,
the old lady told them.
Keep looking for the rest of them, though. Just let me know when you're ready to try uniting again. Ah. Uniting.
Jean blinked.
Monsieur Ryu. What is this? Patty would also like to know,
the thief murmured, looking slightly horrified.
What kind of scene are you people running here, anyways? Don't worry, it's okay.
Siso shoved her family off of her and skipped over to Jean, raising a hand to his cheek.
We've been at this for a while now, so we know what we're doing. Just relax, and it'll all be okay. Okay.
Jean made a strangled riveting noise.
Ah, geez.
Sten slapped his face.
Look, it's not as bad as it sounds.
Ryu shook his head.
They're fusion clan, is all. You know about them, right? Who's talking about fusing what?
Revob, the carpenter, yelled as he burst out of one of the houses.
Hey, Battison. You're back. These the rest of the guys? We're gonna have to bust out the barrel tonight. Hey, stooges. The boys are back in town. Stooge yourself, Revob.
Another burly man, strongly resembling Revob save for his bright red hair, yelled back as he opened the door.
Hey, Marks. Legacy. Good to see you again. Oi, lacquer. Get your ass down here and meet these guys. Whatever you say, boss.
The young painter yelled back, climbing down from the roof he was on.
Will you both just shut up already?
A third man, this one with bleached white hair, bellowed as he slammed his door open.
How's a guy supposed to nap with all this noise? Wait a second. Winfrey and Sean? When did you get back in? This is getting ridiculous,
Cat growled.
It's supposed to be a headquarters, not the neighborhood square. Can't you three stop fighting for just one day?
Mrs. Revob yelled as she emerged from their house with another, younger woman, her son in tow.
I swear, you're more like children than your own son. What's the big? Oh. You're back. Mommy, Mommy.
The boy pointed at Jean.
That man's green. What's all the ruckus?
Nero hobbled out of their building, then blinked as Ryu walked past him without a word.
I'll be in my room,
he said flatly before slamming the door. As he walked up the stairs, he heard the sounds of the others following him, and once he had closed the door to his room behind him, they did that as well, some louder than others. Shaking his head, he laid down on his bed and stared at the ceiling for a while, thinking.
Hey, Ryu.
Cat's voice came from the other side of the door after several hours.
We've got lunch and ale, and the others are heading downstairs. Want some? Sure.
He opened the door and followed her down. The others were already carving slices off of a roast boar and pouring mugs of ale. Once everybody had some, they took their seats around the main table, all but two filled now. Leaning back, he took a deep drink of ale before speaking.
All right, people. This probably isn't what any of us had in mind. I know I sure didn't, but we can deal. After all, we don't exactly legally own this property, so we can't really kick out anybody else who wants to move in here. I still fail to understand the problem,
Jean said, baffled.
They all seem to be splendid fellows, to me. I'll explain later,
Sten muttered.
That's not the only thing we should explain,
Nina pointed out.
I think, all things considered, we should fill Jean in on our history. And then you gotta tell us what happened over in Sima.
Nero reminded them.
We wanna know. This is gonna take a while, then.
Bao rolled his eyes.
Yeah, okay. Where do we start?
Between the two parts, the entire story took several hours. By the time they were done, everybody had finished eating, and Bao and Nero both looked shaken.
Was this guy really that bad?
The old man asked hesitantly.
Believe it,
Rand said flatly.
My total square footage of scar tissue got doubled in those 10 minutes alone, and that's with my white magic. Let's be honest, people. We got damn lucky. We unloaded everything we had on the bastard, and it still didn't really match up. If he came back for a rematch, we'd probably go down, hard. No probably about it.
Sten shook his head.
He'd demolish us. If that's a demon, then they're out of our league. Demon Lord,
Cat corrected him.
That's gotta be important. Big difference between him and the other two, trust me. We can handle them, if we have to. It'll suck, but we can do it. Another one like Kawadara shows up, though.
She made a face.
All the more reason to stay out of this mess from now on,
Ryu said firmly.
We'll send a report to Ray and tell him the source of the infection's been stamped out in Sima, and hope that's an end to our involvement.
Looking at their faces, he could tell that not a single one of them believed that, not even Nero, but he pressed on anyways.
At any rate, we made it, and we've got another man on the team now. I'm not going to complain about that. Indeed,
Jean murmured. After a certain point in the story, he had been badly rattled for entirely different reasons than Bao and Nero.
Monsieur Ryu, you did not tell me that you were of the Light Dragons. I must confess, I am somewhat at a loss. We try not to spread it around,
Ryu explained.
I trust you understand why. Of course, and yet.
Jean ran a hand over the top of his bald head.
Well, you see. This may sound strange, but... You all know of the statues of Loudon, yes? You too, Hey.
Sten leaned back in his chair.
Yeah, we all hear them talking. Ever since we joined up with the boss. Only then.
Jean blinked.
The spirit of the statues first spoke to me some months back. Quite a pleasant fellow, for a statue. Wait a second.
Bao frowned thoughtfully.
Nero, you said he started talking to you before you met us too, right? Yup.
Nero nodded.
Not for long, though. Only about a week or so, maybe a little less. So, right around when he first started talking to us.
Ryu drummed his fingers on the desk.
Maybe a month before I met Kat and Rand, month and a half before Nina, and 2 months for Sten, roughly. There weren't any statues in Corsair, so we didn't see one for a while before we met you,
Kat said, and Rand nodded in agreement.
At least a month, sure, maybe more. And I didn't leave the magic school much before Joker,
Nina admitted.
So maybe it all kicked in at the same time, and the rest of us just didn't notice until later.
Sten's eyes narrowed thoughtfully.
Which means, the boss isn't the only one up to his ass in this destiny bullshit,
Bao growled.
We all might be, every one of us. All the more reason to stay as far away from it as possible,
Ryu said firmly.
We have more immediate concerns, anyways. Where's Miss Smith right now? Giggly's keeping an eye on her at the moment,
Nero explained.
She offered. Good, as long as somebody is.
Ryu nodded.
From now on until we hand her over to Trout, we don't leave her alone for a second. Not even when she's got to. Well.
Bao looked uncomfortable.
Watch the door,
Nina advised him.
Very carefully. And if you hear anything that sounds like she's doing something to the walls, you either find a girl to get in there right away, or do it yourself and leave your manners in the gutter. She's that bad.
He whistled.
Wouldn't put it past her.
Ryu rolled his eyes.
The sooner we're rid of her, the better. Let's head back to hometown with her first thing tomorrow. Think you can get in touch with Duke Kilgore and Elder Allen to let them know we're coming? Let me take care of that part of it,
Nero told him.
I'll handle it. Good.
He nodded.
They should be able to get us in to see Trout. We might have had some trouble with the guards otherwise. With any luck, we'll tell him the story, hand everything we took off of him over, and put this whole mess behind us. Yeah.
Bao looked uneasy.
I dunno, though. She was saying something about Trout, and we know he's involved in this conspiracy. Think maybe we were wrong about him selling his soul.
The three of them who had lived in hometown all looked at each other for a long moment, then started laughing.
Good one, man,
Ryu managed to say through his chortling.
What kind of evil conspiracy would want him as a full-fledged member? I must say, it is difficult to imagine him as a demon.
Nina giggled.
Did you two see the time he fell through the floor of his own carriage during the parade? Oh, man, I was howling.
Ryu laughed harder.
And when he tried to make mentioning it ever again punishable by law. Yeah, what the hell was I thinking?
Bao asked Riley, chuckling.
Forget I even brought it up in the first place. Alright, tomorrow we head back to clear my name. Sounds good to me.
Sten smirked.
So then, if we're leaving for tomorrow morning, what does that leave for tonight, You have to ask.
Ryu leaned back in his chair, smiling faintly as well.
Let's show all these new neighbors how we party, shall we? An excellent suggestion, mon ami s.
Jean grinned, giving them a thumbs up.
Let us dance and sing all night long. Something like that, at any rate,
Nina murmured with a tiny smile. The party ended up going well, despite certain cynical expectations about the other residents of the sudden, unexpected village. Mrs. Ribob turned out to be an excellent cook, and with Jean assisting, she turned out a delicious feast. The three carpenters were practically a comedy act, especially once they were into their mugs, with Lacquer playing straight man to all three at once. Granny was surprisingly well behaved, most likely thanks to Nero's presence near her throughout the night, and her two granddaughters were at least somewhat restrained, though that lessened as the night went on. Eventually, Ryu went up on the roof for some air, bringing one last mug of ale up with him. To his slight surprise, Bao was up there already. He hadn't seen his partner leave the festivities. Rather than bothering him, Ryu simply stood by the stairs, watching the night sky in silence for some time until Bao spoke.
Hey, buddy. Had enough. Just wanted some air.
Ryu shrugged.
You. Doing some thinking,
Bao replied, not looking at him.
It's gonna take some getting used to. Hanging out with all of the guys on a regular basis, I mean. I've been here with Nero so long I was kind of getting used to the solitude before these other folks started showing up. Probably for the best that they did, I think it was kind of driving me crazy, actually. Crazy you mean?
Ryu cracked.
Har har.
Bao rolled his eyes as they sat down on the edge of the roof together, watching everybody else sit around the campfire in front of the building, talking and laughing.
They're good guys, don't get me wrong. It's just.
He sighed heavily.
You don't really know them as well as I do, yet?
Ryu guessed.
Except maybe Rand, and it's been a while since he was back here. Exactly.
Bao shook his head.
It sounds great on paper, having more than one buddy who I can trust to have my back, you know? I've been looking forward to it for years. It's just. I didn't think it'd be like this.
He took a deep breath before continuing.
Here you are, going out all over the world, having adventures, doing jobs, and pulling in more pay than we used to see in a year, and recruiting nearly a full company. And I'm sitting on my ass. Wasn't your fault, man,
Ryu told him quietly.
That's all on little Miss Smith down there, and we're gonna take care of it. I know, but that ain't it,
Bao growled, frustrated.
It's like. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm not really part of the group. Maybe I got left behind because this destiny bullshit didn't want me along, like I wasn't supposed to be part of it. It ain't like you guys really need me, anyways, is it? You've got Rand now, and all. Did just fine out there without me. That's bullshit, and you know it is,
Ryu said quietly, without anger.
If you need me to, I can show you the scars to prove it. We all can. It's not just demons, those creons were as bad as it gets, too. And those huge bugs under Sima Fort. One white mage isn't enough, no matter how good he is. Any good band needs two, if they want their guys to stay alive. You probably know about that wise fruit stuff. He was downing M for Kawatara, and I don't like that. Especially since we were still less than an inch away from biting it. Thought you said we were going to be staying away from demons, from now on,
Bao reminded him.
Not the point,
Ryu told him flatly.
Besides, even if it was.
He sighed.
Don't tell the others this, but really? I doubt it'll be that easy. These assholes keep dropping the name Baruberry, and if that's not that one giant freak who smeared us across that cave the night we first met, I'm a Menero. Combine that with what I am, and it looks like this has been building for longer than we've been alive. That kind of thing doesn't just give up and go home because you're not interested. We're gonna keep trying, of course, but still. I need you to help me navigate this, man. Don't let me down, okay? I'm still your number 2 guy, then?
Bao asked after a long moment.
Like you ever weren't.
Ryu shot back, remembering for the first time in a while that Bao was younger than him.
Even for a moment? I don't think so. You and me, man. World doesn't stand a chance against us. Okay.
Bao turned and grinned at him.
I get the hint. Enough feeling sorry for myself. What's the point of a party if we're not going to enjoy it, right?
For a moment, he looked like he was going to say something more, but then he glanced down at the party below.
Hey, Jean's going next door with Cecil and Granny. You don't think? Aw, shit.
Ryu jumped to his feet.
We gotta get down there, now.
Without looking to see if Bao was following him, he turned and raced for the stairs.
Dude.
Bao called, running down after him.
What if they're... You know? You saw the way she was acting around him. Privacy, man. With Granny.
Ryu asked incredulously, continuing down the stairs.
Yeah, okay, good point,
Bao conceded.
So what are they doing? The same thing Sana was doing when she hauled me back to their shack out in the woods.
Ryu told him.
Didn't you just say that's not what they're doing? Har har.
Reaching the bottom of the stairs, Ryu kept running towards the front door.
They're fusing him with her. Ugh.
Bao thought about that for a moment.
Shit. We gotta get in there. No kidding.
Ryu asked dryly as they burst through the door and made a pair of quick left turns.
Hey, what's up?
Kat called from by the fireside. Apparently, nobody there had noticed the three of them leaving.
Come on.
Ryu called to her as he threw the door open, then groaned.
Damn, too late.
One glance was all he needed to tell that the ritual was already being conducted. The room inside was exactly like the one they had used back in their own home. Jean was standing in the center, and Siso in one of the side circles. As Granny chanted gibberish from a mezzanine, the girl became a streak of glowing blue light that flew around before plunging into Jean.
Ah!
The prince slowly reached up and touched his chest as his scales lightened, becoming a bright shade of teal.
I see. It seems it worked, yes. Looks like a success to me,
Granny agreed as the several others clustered around the door, peering in curiously.
Good. Try casting a spell. With her fused to you, she should buff up your magical power. As you wish, mademoiselle,
Jean said, raising a hand. A seal of glowing light appeared before Granny's face, and she leaned back, startled, as it vanished a moment later. Recovering quickly, she opened her mouth to yell, but no sound came out, much to her surprise.
The hush spell,
Nina murmured.
Normally, it wouldn't have worked on such an experienced mage as her. It seems she was right. Is it just me, or is Jean a lot more on the ball than he acts?
Bao muttered, smiling slightly as Granny continued to rage silently.
You okay, man?
Ryu asked cautiously.
What's it like? Odd, but... Not bad,
Jean replied, blinking slowly.
Ah, yes, I can hear you. Ah. Ah.
He paused for a few moments before continuing.
Monsieur Ryu, Mademoiselle Siso would like to request to join us when we return to hometown tomorrow. It seems she is enjoying this.
His cheeks darkened.
That's between you two, man.
Ryu shook his head.
Your call. Demonstrate,
Bao grunted in agreement.
Ditto.
Cat nodded.
Right.
Rand looked uncomfortable, as did Nina.
Can we talk about something else?
She asked, then paused.
Wait, where's Sten? Back at the campfire.
Cat glanced over to where the other inhabitants of the ruins were gathered, then frowned.
Nope. And neither is Sana. Well, they cannot be using this device, or else we would have not been able to, yes.
Jean pointed out.
Thus, if they are together, they must be occupied otherwise.
Everybody thought about that for a moment.
I need more ale,
Ryu said finally.
Demonstrate. Ditto. Right. Can we talk about something else?
In the morning, the 9 of them 10, counting Siso headed out, some with hangovers and some without. For once, even Nero accompanied them. Patty was in a better mood than would be expected, since she had been allowed to take part in the festivities under extremely close watch, of course, and she came along with a minimum of fuss. Crossing Mount Phoebe once more, they headed north through Oria, and reached hometown within the week. Slipping through the eastern gate, they immediately spotted their welcoming party. Elder Alan, Duke Kilgore, Sylvia, and Dees were all there waiting for them.
Hey, Ryu.
One of the guards on the gate hollered as they passed.
You're back, hey. Hey.
His eyes widened as he saw Bao.
Wait a second here. No need to get excited, young man,
Kilgore said quickly, meeting his eyes.
Mr. Doki has returned with the real thief to prove his innocence.
He glanced over at Patty, who stuck out her tongue at him.
This lady, I assume. Bingo, and she ain't no lady.
Cat shook Patty lightly by the head.
Had a real racket going from here all the way to Sima Fort.
She grinned cheerfully at the guard, who seemed to notice just how many escorts Bao had, and what kind of people they were, for the first time.
Of course, if you really wanna make some noise, could be kind of fun. Behave, cat,
Nina murmured.
No mauling innocent guardsmen in hometown. So if it's in another city, I'm good to go.
She joked.
Let's call it a case-by-case scenario for now,
Rand suggested.
It's good to see you back, Ryu,
Elder Alan murmured, looking wary as he glanced around.
And who, are these people? Rest of the team.
Ryu glanced at Dees.
Probably a few familiar faces to you more than anybody. You could say that.
Dees met Nina's eyes, clearly amused.
So, all those years you turned down invitations to go out drinking with me and these two clowns, and then the moment I turn my back, you're hiring on with them. Hey,
Ryu growled.
It was somewhat complicated,
Nina replied.
I'll explain it to you later, but we really should get things settled with Count Trout first thing. Fellas.
Nero coughed, then pointed, and everybody turned to look at Bao. Sylvia had walked over to him, and they were both holding each other's hands and looking into their eyes without moving or saying a word.
Love is such a beautiful thing.
Jean murmured. Everybody ignored him.
Get a room.
Patty yelled after a moment, prompting Rand to cuff her.
Ow. Guys.
Ryu muttered quietly, walking over to them.
Hate to ruin the moment, but we really kind of need to get going.
Tch. Bao slowly smiled.
Some guys got no sense of timing. Ever noticed that? A little.
Sylvia smiled as well a moment later.
I suppose they do have a point, though. We can catch up once we've cleared your name. Indeed,
Elder Allen harumphed.
With luck, that will go fairly easily. Nobody truly believes that Bao is responsible, it's simply that Trout refuses to let the matter go, for obvious reasons. Once that is settled, there will indeed be, a lot of catching up to do. I've heard some things, about a new town down south. Damn it all.
Ryu slapped his face.
We have got to do something about that. Yeah, talk later, clearing Bo's name now. So what are we waiting for?
Dees grinned.
Let's get going, already.
The slightly unusual group gained some interesting looks as they made their way through the streets of hometown towards Trout's Manor. Several times, pedestrians hailed the ones who were native, only to pause and blink as they saw the rest of their companions. Nobody tried to stand in their way, though, and they soon reached the 8-foot walls around Trout's home. It was a huge, lavish manor with a broad lawn around it, but the garden was uncultivated as of lately, the grass overgrown and the trees and bushed unkempt around delicate white lawn furniture and marble statuary.
Hey, what the hell?
The heavily armored gate guard yelled as he saw them approached, reaching for a whistle around his neck. It was Larkin, the same one who had come to their room on the night of the theft to interrogate Ryu.
Easy, chum,
Sten said coolly, cleaning his fingernails with one of his new daggers.
We don't want there to be any accidents, now do we? I'll give you an accident, punk.
Larkin growled, then blanched as some of the others stepped to the front of the group.
Hey? Elder Allen? And Duke Kilgore? What are you doing with this mob? We, are, accompanying them to Count Trout's in order to prevent, any, accidents,
Elder Allen explained mildly.
They're here to hand over the thief who burglarized him, as he requested. Hey.
Larkin's eyes crossed.
Why don't you call the Count down here so he can take care of this himself?
Duke Kilgore suggested kindly.
There'll be no onus on yourself, that way. Sure.
Larkin turned and yelled at another guard behind the gate, prompting him to approach.
Hey, go get the Count. Tell him the thief's here, and he wants to turn himself in.
He sneered at Bao.
Herself,
Dees corrected him.
The thief's turning herself in. Wah.
The second guard boggled, staring at Bao.
You're a girl? But then.
He pointed at Sylvia, who slapped her face.
Qua?
Jean yelled, eyes widening.
No.
Bao shouted.
No, hell no. What the hell? So then.
The second guard scowled, deep in thought.
You don't want to turn yourself in after all. Of course I don't.
He snarled.
Oh, no.
Larkin growled, reaching for his spear.
You're not getting away that easy after all this time. Woohoo.
Cat cracked her knuckles.
Time for some fun after all. No.
Sylvia pleaded, before help came from an unexpected quarter.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
Patty yelled shrilly, loud enough that everybody stopped to stare at her.
Enough. Fine. I did it. I'm the one who robbed Trout's house. I stole the magic hood. I freaking did it, okay? Lawden.
A long moment of silence passed after that.
You had better get the Count,
Larkin told the other guard quietly.
He's going to want to handle this personally. Right.
The other guard saluted, then left.
Thanks,
Bao muttered.
I think. Wasn't for you,
she shot back.
That would have gone on all day if I hadn't. Anything's better than that. No arguments here. I dunno, I kinda liked it,
Nero commented.
Some folks pay good money for that kind of entertainment.
Everybody ignored him.
So, how long do we wait before we bust the gate down and go in anyways?
Dees asked.
10 hours,
Rand replied dryly.
That's no fun. It's also not getting arrested. Your roommate, right?
Sten muttered to Nina, who nodded.
Think we definitely got the right one to hire. She's not so bad,
she replied, watching her continue to argue with Rand.
She just takes some getting used to. Ah, but she is just as beautiful as yourself, no?
Jean pointed out.
I shall serenade her with all of my charm and talent tonight.
Everybody who knew her already took a moment to think about how that would probably go.
Oh well, you heal quickly.
Ryu shrugged. The others all nodded. Jean blinked.
I do not understand what you... Ah, here we go.
He turned and bowed as the door opened, and Count Trout walked out, flanked by a couple of guardsmen.
All right, what's going on here?
The nobleman demanded, scowling. He was the same age as Kilgore, but bore it much less willingly. The fringe of blonde hair around his head was obviously dyed, and he was almost perfectly round. His penchant for dressing in bright red, with lace and ruffles, didn't help matters one bit.
Kilgore, if you don't mind explaining? Neither of these buffoons could get their story straight. It's really rather simple, old friend,
Kilgore explained, face carefully neutral.
As I've been telling you, young Mr. Dogi was framed for that theft months ago. His friends have managed to find the real thief and bring her in.
He indicated Patty.
Is that so?
Trout murmured, eyes narrowing as he stared at Patty.
So then, this woman was the one who robbed me. No way.
Patty yelled back, suddenly angry.
It doesn't count as robbing you if you stole it all in the first place, lardass. Hey, shut up.
Sten booted her.
Our apologies, Your Grace,
Ryu told Trout calmly.
She's not particularly gifted when it comes to manners. So I see,
Trout murmured.
We take such things very seriously in this city, young lady. I have a reputation to maintain. Do you have any basis for these statements? Sure I do.
She snarled.
Your basement is full of stolen goods. Who, boy?
Nero whistled.
Really, now?
Trout glanced at Kilgore.
How odd. You were down there just a week ago, weren't you, old friend? Did you see anything like that when you were? Ah.
Kilgore looked hesitant, then glanced away.
No, I'm afraid not. I'm sorry, young lady, but your accusations have no basis in fact. Hey,
Kat muttered under her breath, edging close to Ryu and Nina.
Is it just me, or is something going on here? That seems to be the case,
Nina agreed quietly.
I'm not entirely sure just what it is, though. It's odd. Yeah.
Ryu nodded, watching Bao carefully. His friend's face was just as carefully blank as Kilgore's, and that wasn't like Bao at all.
Bullshit.
Patty was yelling again.
Why do you think he's fired all his old staff and hired these thugs instead? Guards? Yeah, right. They're paid killers who cover up his dirty deeds for him. That does it.
Larkin walked towards her.
I'm gonna. That won't be necessary, Captain.
Trout raised a hand calmly.
I'm sure everybody here understands that these accusations are the ramblings of an obviously guilty party. Nobody sane would pay them even the slightest mind. Correct.
His eyes were flat and empty, like those of a bad painting, as he looked them all over.
Of course, Your Grace,
Ryu said quietly, and everybody else on his team nodded.
Nobody would take her seriously. Indeed,
Elder Allen agreed, somewhat hesitantly.
The Rangers Guild apprehended the thief for you, and we stand behind your word in this matter.
Sylvia murmured a quiet agreement.
Of course I trust your word, old friend,
Kilgore assured him.
I've seen the evidence with my own eyes, after all. Yeah, everybody in this town knows your rep's infallible, Your Grace,
Dee said loudly, meeting his eyes.
Nobody'd ever suspect you of anything. Well. Good.
Trout stared at her for a moment, then turned his head away.
At any rate, thank you for catching the thief. You have what she stole, of course. Here's all the zenny she had on her.
Ryu tossed several bulging pouches to the guards, followed by the cloth hood with cat-like ears sewn on that they'd found with the money.
And I assume that's the magic hood. Indeed it is,
Trout murmured, catching it and examining it carefully.
Ah, at last. This treasure is worth more than everything else I own combined, you know. It's actually a relic from the Second Dragon War. One of the possessions of the hero of that time. Your namesake, I believe, young man.
He glanced at Ryu for a moment, and there was something odd in his gaze, before he turned back to Patty.
Unfortunately, there still seems to be several thousand zenny missing. I can only assume she hid it somewhere before you apprehended her. Enough of your lies, creep.
Patty growled, struggling now without much luck.
That's everything I took from you, and you know it. Haven't we just established that it's your word, not mine? That's obviously untrustworthy.
Trout pointed out mildly.
It seems we'll have to persuade you to be more honest before handing you over to the town guard. Gentlemen.
He glanced at Larkin, who grunted and hefted Patty over one shoulder.
Hey, this is a little much, isn't it?
Rand muttered quietly.
Don't.
Sten shook his head.
I don't like it either, but she's dug her own grave, fair and square. Nothing we can do about it now. Well then, everything seems to be taken care of.
Trout made a show of dusting off his hands as Larkin carried Patty into the manor.
I'll let you be about your business, then.
He winked at Bao, smiling without a trace of humor.
Do try to avoid doing such suspicious things in the future, young man, Let's go,
Ryu growled, and they all turned to leave. One glance at everybody's face was enough to tell that they all shared a bad taste about how the affair had been concluded, despite Beau's freedom, but nobody brought it up. They walked through the streets with no real goal in mind, simply wanting to put as much distance between themselves and Trout's manor as possible.
Hey, where are we staying tonight?
Kat asked after a while.
I don't really think we can cram 8 people into that little apartment of yours. I don't even know if we have that anymore,
Ryu pointed out.
The inn, just like usual, I guess. That won't be necessary,
Kilgore told him.
I'd be honored if you accepted the hospitality of my home for as long as you intend to stay in town. You're a generous man, Your Grace,
Bao said quietly.
No kidding.
Rand raised an eyebrow.
I guess after everything else you've done for us, it's just the icing on the cake, but still, thanks. It's guilt, more than anything, young man,
Kilgore explained.
Even if it's all taken care of now, I was the one responsible for this mess in the first place. Nonsense, Your Grace.
Dees chuckled.
Bao got in over his head, that's all. Like that's anything new for him. Gee, thanks, Dees.
Bao snorted.
What are friends for?
She smirked at him.
All the same, as Mr. Marks said, this is the least I can do.
Kilgore smiled suddenly, and it made him look decades younger.
What's the point of being the richest man in town if you can't do something nice for your friends, Let's make a night of it and celebrate Beau's freedom. What do you say? Hey, any excuse to party?
Kat grinned.
Sounds like a plan to me. A fine celebration is entirely appropriate, yes.
Jean agreed.
Ah, if only more nobles in my own homeland were so generous. I'll decline, I'm afraid.
Elder Allen shook his head, smiling slightly.
Those days are long in my past. The rest of you, however, should certainly enjoy yourselves. You've earned it, all of you. A party does seem like it would be nice,
Sylvia murmured, holding Beau's hand again.
Well.
He scratched his head.
All right, hell with it. Let's do this, people. Now we're talking.
Dees hooped.
Seems that way,
Ryu agreed, giving in. With any luck, it would help him forget his opinions about how the situation with Trout had ended. Everybody else seemed to be of the same mindset. By unspoken agreement, nobody talked about business for the entire night. Kilgore was as good as his word. The banquet his servants prepared was every bit as lavish as the one in Simo had been, and far more suited to their tastes. Both ale and wine were freely available, all of it high quality, and before long their troubles were indeed forgotten in favor of celebrating Beau's freedom. Ryu never was able to figure out who it was that suggested the dancing. However it happened, there was no stopping it. Kilgore turned out to have several accomplished musicians on his staff, and his huge manor held a ballroom that they adjourned to, despite protests from several of them. The Duke took a seat behind the grand piano himself, and his playing turned out to be every bit as talented as the men and women in his employ. Bao and Sylvia were, of course, the center of attention. He had come around with only a few token arguments, and even those had been quickly dropped as she swept him off his feet, skillful enough to obscure his own lack of talent. Kat, Nina, and Dees took turns passing the rest of the men around between them, some more reluctantly than others. Nero turned out to be surprisingly skilled, and Jean unsurprisingly. Sten was average, but both Rand and Ryu danced abysmally. Fortunately, nobody seemed to mind. Despite the cheer, Ryu's turns on the dance floor with Kat and Nina both carried heavy undertones that none of them missed, even if they didn't talk about it. Though the Windian princess was highly talented, Kat's movements were clearly superior. She put the same style and grace into it that she did her fighting, and seemed to be surprised by how much she enjoyed it herself. Only after several songs with both of them did Ryu take a turn with Dees for appearance's sake.
"You've got problems, Ryu," his old friend murmured as they spun around. "Problems of the female persuasion." "You noticed," he replied just as quietly. "Everybody in the room noticed," she pointed out. "Probably everybody in the building. Hell, maybe even everybody in the city. Both of them." "Yup," he grunted. "It wasn't my idea." "Yeah, but you didn't do anything to stop it either, did you?" Dees remarked dryly before softening her voice. "You know it doesn't work that way, right? Despite stories from certain unsavory publications." "Hey, I'll have you know I only read those for the articles," he joked. "That's what I'm worried about," she quipped. "Har har." Ryu sighed. "Yeah, I know. Trust me, I'm not going to go any further until we've got it figured out." "Good." She shook her head. "Just don't take too long about it, or else nobody wins." She paused a moment before continuing. "Been through a lot out there, haven't you? You've changed, you know." "Is it that obvious?" he asked quietly. "To most people." Dees shrugged. "Probably not. I've known you too long, though. I can tell, looking at you. You're not going to tell me about it, either, are you?" "I wish I could," Ryu said honestly. "But I can't." "Then I'll tell you instead," she replied, meeting his eyes solemnly. "Stay careful, Ryu. Whatever this is you're not telling me about. It isn't over. Not even close." "Another one of those feelings of yours?" he asked. "Yeah." Dees shivered. "Damn." "It's okay," he assured her. "Not your fault. Thanks for the heads up." He sighed. "You know, despite everything, sometimes I kind of wish it was still just you, me, and Bao sitting on a wall around midnight, finishing off a bottle." "You think I don't?" she asked, semi-joking. "Things change, Ryu. Things always change, for all of us. That's the way of the world for everybody. Especially for mugs like us." She relaxed suddenly as the song ended. "And speaking of things changing, find somebody else to dance with. I want another round with the big guy." "Aw, geez." Ryu chuckled, glancing at Rand. "Should have known he'd be your type. Go easy on him, hey." "No promises." She winked at him before walking over to the big farmlander. The party wound down shortly after that, Dees and Sylvia saying their goodbyes before leaving the manor. After one more round of drinks, Kilgore's servants led them to their rooms, which were just as lavish as the ones in Sima. Exchanging jokes and banter, the group all adjourned, until Bao and Ryu were the only ones left in the hall. "Good party," Ryu said casually. "So, what are you and Sylvia gonna do from here?" "We're still working on that." Bao shrugged. "We'll figure something out." He frowned, looking thoughtful. "Hey, buddy, listen." "Yeah." Ryu glanced at him. "Nah." Bao shook his head after a moment. "Never mind, it's not important." "Come on, man, don't give me that," Ryu pressed, slapping him on the shoulder. "You and me against the world, right? You can tell me." "I'm not bullshitting you." Bao grinned. "It's nothing, man. Honest." "If you say so." Ryu raised an eyebrow. "But you'll tell me when it does become something, right?" "You know it," Bao promised him. "See you in the morning, buddy." "Later." Ryu nodded, heading into his room. Undressing, he fell into bed and drifted off to sleep, doing his best to ignore his worries.
Power. We need your power. God needs your power. Give yourself to our God. Pray to God. Praise God. Sacrifice your bodies and souls to God. You are destined to become God's power. As always, Ryu slept restlessly for several hours, until somebody pounded on his door, awakening him. Shaking his head, he dressed quickly and opened the door, more out of a desire to yell at whoever was responsible than any actual concern. That lasted up until he saw a frantic-looking maid on the other side. Glancing around, the first thing he noticed was that Bo's door was open, and he brushed past the maid to look inside. Kilgore was sitting on the edge of the unmade bed, wearing a night robe, his face in his hands. There was no sign of Bao at all.
Shit,
Ryu muttered as the others joined him sleepily.
All right, where's the fire?
Nero grumbled.
Fire would be a good explanation for this bullshit,
Cat growled.
And for this, there had better be a good. Crap.
She took in the scene at a glance.
Scratch that. This is not good. Not good at all. His gear's gone,
Sten noted, glancing around the room.
That new crossbow we got him at Sima, and the armor, too. He took it all with him. There's only one place he'd go at this time of night,
Rand muttered darkly.
That idiot. I'll kill him, and then I'll bring him back to life so I can kill him again. But why?
Jean asked, baffled.
What possible reason could he have for such a foolish expedition? That does seem to be the question of the hour, doesn't it, Your Grace?
Nina asked Kilgore significantly.
I'm such a fool,
the Duke replied after a moment.
Forgive me. I never thought Bao would actually take action like this. What did you do, Your Grace?
Ryu asked quietly.
Before you all returned.
Kilgore explained slowly.
I would visit Bao, often, and we would talk of many things. Trout was one of them.
He took a deep breath before continuing.
You must understand that despite our rivalry, Trout is my oldest friend, and in a strange way, my best. That's why it hit me so hard, to see him change so much recently. That's why I talked so often about it, with Bao, despite my guilt over getting him in trouble. It must have stuck with him harder than I thought. But I never asked. I never told him to go back there. She was right, wasn't she?
Ryu pressed him.
That thief, Patty. That's why he kept her, instead of turning her over to the guard. Those new guards of his, her stories about him stealing from other people. He couldn't let her go. She'll never make it out of there alive. I get it.
Sten snapped his fingers.
Bao knew that if he got caught this time, it would make last time look like a loitering charge, so he went in alone instead of asking us to get involved. I thought there was something weird about the way he was acting. All of it was true,
Kilgore admitted, then shuddered.
All of it, and more.
He finally raised his head to stare at them.
You'll think I'm crazy, but I'm not the only one. Over the last few years, on some nights, late enough that nobody should be on the streets, people have heard it, just like I have. I've found some who did. It's not just me. Heard what?
Cat demanded.
Sounds. Howls.
Kilgore shivered again.
Horrible noises, like some kind of monster, or something even worse. Coming from deep inside Trout's manor. Shit,
Ryu repeated, his blood running cold, as everybody else swore as well, even Nina.
Let's move, people.
At this hour of the night, or rather the morning, the streets of Oria were deserted. The sun would be rising within the hour, and all but the most industrious pickpockets and cutthroats had turned in. And even those knew better than to target the stout young man walking down the streets towards Trout's manor. The armor he wore and the crossbow he carried spoke louder than words, which was fortunate, since he was too busy whistling tunelessly to talk. He knew how illogical he was being all too well. It would have been easy to just walk away, their business was concluded, and Trout had no reason to bother with them further. The girl had dug her own grave, and besides, she was obnoxious. Every nerve in his body was telling him to be smart, even now, as he did the exact opposite. There was no explanation at all, and for some strange reason, he didn't mind that one bit. At least he had left the others out of it, that much, he knew he had done right. They were completely loyal to Ryu, he didn't doubt that, but his personal business was a different story. If he botched this one, they'd be able to go on without him, and that was the important thing.
Hold it right there, asshole,
the guard at the gate said as he approached, and he stopped a good 10 feet away, as requested. It was Larkin, the same one who had been a pain in their asses since the night when it all went wrong.
You again? Haven't you learned your lesson by now? You keep acting suspicious, the Count might just forget he forgave you. Hey, I don't want any trouble, okay?
Bao said, raising his hands.
Look, I'm here on business. Found out some information the Count really needs to know. At this hour.
Larkin snorted.
Try again, lunkhead. I know,
Bao wheedled, lowering his hands and relaxing.
But this is huge, man. I mean it. Trout's gotta know this. I'll be the judge of that.
Larkin raised the visor on his helmet in order to sneer at him.
What is it? Well, it's like this.
Scratching his head and glancing away, Bao fired his crossbow without looking, straight into Larkin's right eye.
Some total asshole's gone and killed the guard at his front gate. Can you believe that?
Walking forward, he caught the corpse as it began to fall forward, and shoved it back so that it leaned against the wall next to the gate.
Oof. Kids these days, you know? Bunch of ultra-violent punks, the lot of 'em. I blame the parents.
Pulling the bolt out of Larkin's skull with a crunch, he lowered the visor.
Looking good, Chief. Keep an eye out for any trouble, hey.
The lock on the gate was as easily picked as the first time he had broken in. Slipping through, he moved across the yard with much more stealth than he had used on the way. He knew there would be more guards patrolling the grounds, and wanted none of their attention. Picking the lock on the front door as well, he sneaked inside and began creeping through the manor. It was like an abandoned ruin, dark and empty both of life and of content. Trout had fired his servants months ago, and sold all but the bare minimum of furniture. The only inhabitants were the guards. Twice, Bao came upon one, and dispatched them quickly before they could sound the alarm. He held no sympathy for the thugs. Sylvia had managed to look up where Trout had found them, as well as their previous history, and it wasn't pleasant. Removing the bolts and hiding the bodies in fortunately empty closets, he kept going towards the back, where the basement stairs were located. It was pure luck, finding the secret passage. As he was about to go down, he saw a huge, full-length mirror start to move, and quickly ducked around a corner. Eyes narrowed, he watched Trout walk out from behind it, look around nervously, and push it back into place easily before waddling down the hall in the other direction. Only once the obese Count was gone did he sneak over and move the mirror again.
Interesting mechanism,
he murmured, examining it. The mirror slid easily, as if powered by something like magic. After a moment, he shrugged and looked past it. A set of stairs behind it led downward, and he descended without thinking twice. Whatever Trout's secret was, it would be there. A row of cells lined the hall below. As he walked past, glancing in, prisoners stared back.
Hey, you!
A swarthy man yelled.
Let me out of here, and I'll make it worth your while. Come on, man. Whatcha in for?
Bao asked casually.
Being an idiot and trusting Trout, that's what.
He snorted.
He hired me to steal, then threw me in here after I did the job. My days are numbered if you don't get me out of here. Me too.
Another, far more timid-looking man, suddenly burst out.
I didn't even do anything wrong. I just came here to try and start up a market for whale cakes. Trout said he'd hear me out, but then he locked me up. Please, I have a family. My children. Oi, I got a family too.
A thin, nasty-looking woman piped up.
Come on, buddy, help us out, will you?
The other prisoners began yelling in agreement.
Okay, just quiet down, will you?
Bao told them, continuing towards the back.
Don't get the guards down here, or we'll all be screwed. There's gotta be keys around here.
Some.
Where?
He trailed off as he saw what was at the end of the hall.
Lose something?
Patty asked, obviously trying to act nonchalant despite the pain she had to be in. She was dangling by her wrists from a pair of cuffs attached to the ceiling by chains, 2 feet off the ground, above a table with more restraints. Implements of torture lined the wall to her left.
Or did you miss me? Shit,
Bao muttered, staring first at her and then at the torture rack.
Don't tell me. Not yet.
She tried to shrug and winced.
Probably only a matter of time. Under the circumstances, though, I think I'll skip the I told you SOS. Gee, thanks,
he said dryly, looking around more carefully.
Come on, keys. Gotta be around here somewhere. You're letting me go, then?
She raised an eyebrow.
This mean you're admitting I was right about Trout? Yeah, sure, whatever,
he replied absently.
Hey, I'm not the one who knew what a sicko he was and robbed him anyways. Not too bright of you. Is it my fault I have standards?
She retorted.
I only rob assholes. That means taking risks. I'd have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you guys, you know. You calling the royal family of Sima assholes?
Bao snorted.
Might wanna be careful there. One of our guys might take it personal. Prince Jean, you mean?
She guessed, then batted her eyelashes when he turned to stare at her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that supposed to be a secret?
She blew a raspberry.
Of course he's a good guy. The freak who was impersonating him, though? He didn't deserve that treasure. I figured if he was going to inherit the throne, it'd be better off in someone else's hands. You're a real piece of work, you know that.
Bao muttered, still searching for the key.
How the hell do you know so much about this stuff, anyways?
Growling in frustration, he kicked the side of the rack, and a secret drawer popped out.
Ha! There we go. Knew it. Sure you did.
Patty rolled her eyes.
You want out or not?
He asked her crossly, taking a ring of keys out of the hidden compartment.
All right, one of these should get you down. Is the comedy act finished, then?
A dry voice asked from the back of the hall, and Bao froze, as the prisoners suddenly fell silent. Turning slowly, he saw Trout standing at the bottom of the stairs, arms folded.
How odd. I don't recall requesting any freelance entertainment. I certainly wouldn't have paid for it. Decidedly amateur talent. Everybody's a critic.
Bao scowled.
Give it up, Your Grace. You're busted. I think not.
Reaching up, Trout pulled a lever next to the door, and there was a mechanical noise from inside the cells, followed by traces of white gas leaking between the bars.
There we go. That should put them all to sleep, and make sure they don't remember what just happened down here. Or what's about to, for that matter.
Once the gas had dissipated, he started walking forward.
Now then, down to business. Have you considered my offer, young lady? Offer?
Bao glanced up at her.
He wants me to work for him,
she explained.
To which I replied, and I quote, up yours, fatso. Keep on considering that all you want until you get the hint. A pity.
He sighed.
And you, Bao? Your work was not quite as impressive as Miss Smith's, but you have potential, nonetheless. As if.
He snorted.
I saw the way you treat your employees on the way in, buddy. Not interested. Both of you, then.
He closed his eyes and shook his head, and when he opened them again, they were even more lifeless than before.
Such a shame. I'd hoped to get some use out of you, before turning you over to them. Don't do this, Trout,
Bao warned him, tightening his grip on his crossbow.
Take it easy. It doesn't have to go this way. I didn't want to do this,
Trout whispered, pausing suddenly, his voice dropping to a pitiful, whining tone.
You must understand that I didn't want this. I never wanted this. This wasn't what I had in mind at all.
Wrapping his arms around himself, he began to rock back and forth, face contorted in self-loathing.
I just wanted to be rich, that was all. To be the richest man in the world, to have all the most beautiful treasures in the world for my own. You understand, don't you? I never wanted this. You'll forgive me. Please, please forgive me. Saint Eva, please forgive me.
He began to sob.
Trout.
Bao murmured, staring in mixed revulsion and pity.
Don't be fooled.
Patty snapped.
He's completely lost it. He's just building himself up, before he comes for you. Look. Forgive me. Forgive me.
Trout continued to moan as his bulk expanded, filling more and more of the hallway.
They won't forgive me for botching this. They'll never forgive me. Saint Eva will never forgive me.
His arms withered, and his legs as well, as new ones sprouted. He was like a giant, grotesque pillbug with a gleaming golden shell, rising up on its rear so that his dozens of tiny hands wiggled over a dark purple underbelly. He sat on a long, snake-like tail that coiled around him, and his face was that of a smiling catfish, wide mouth and tentacle whiskers under round green eyes.
Shit,
Bao muttered, staring up at the demon that Trout had become.
They'll never forgive me unless I kill you,
Trout rambled, broad face bizarrely jolly looking as his eyes glittered madly.
I was only supposed to watch you two, you see. Nothing more. I screwed that up, but it'll be alright. If I kill you, they'll forgive me. If I kill you, Saint Eva will forgive me.
Tensing up, he charged down the hall.
Try and get yourself free.
Bao yelled to Patty, throwing the keyring at one of her hands.
I'll hold him off. With what?
She retorted, somehow managing to catch the keys anyways.
My teeth. Look out.
Trout had fallen silent. More importantly, he had zoomed down the rest of the hall with surprising speed, considering his bulk. Propelled by his ridiculously slender tail, he rammed Bao, running him over like a runaway cart and continuing past. The only upside to his speed was that it carried him over Bao, instead of remaining on top of him. That was probably what made the difference between cracked ribs and broken ones.
Ow!
Bao groaned, firing his crossbow at the demon's back as he healed himself. It sunk in, but Trout didn't seem to notice as he turned around, shifting a few zenny between his claws.
Not bad, not bad.
Trout murmured, eyes gleaming.
You're making a lot more zenny in your new line of work than you did as street rats, aren't you? Maybe if you have enough for me, I'll let you live. Do you have enough zenny to buy your life? Let's find out. How did you? Oh, never mind.
Bao growled as the demon charged again, firing a shot. Trout weaved to the side abruptly, however, and the bolt only grazed the side of his head rather than taking out an eye as Bao had hoped. The demon continued forward, and he dove to the side, only for Trout to clip him and send him flying into a wall.
Pain. Oh, this won't do at all.
Trout complained, slowly turning again.
I stand corrected. You're practically broke. I should put you out of your misery, then. I'm doing you a favor, freeing you from poverty by killing you. Shut up.
Bao shot him in the chest, but he didn't seem to notice, blasting forward a third time.
And stop pickpocketing me, oof.
Before he could dodge again, Trout ran him down and over. This time, he broke an arm. As Bao yowled in pain, the demon started to turn for one more, fatal charge, only for a blur of movement to spin him like a top.
Aren't you supposed to be some kind of a pro?
Patty asked, bat-like wings fluttering as she hovered above the ground. She had snatched a whip from the collection of torture implements, and was holding it like she knew how to use it.
You're just lucky I'm damn good at what I do. Don't worry, I won't tell anybody you were getting your ass kicked by this. I'm a professional white mage,
Bao snapped, healing himself as Trout focused on her.
The heavy stuff's for the other guys. And don't get cocky. You don't have any money at all.
Trout yelled at Patty, charging her. As he did, he actually moved sideways up the wall, and from there onto the ceiling. Surprised, she was taken off guard as he smashed into her, and fell to the floor, dazed.
How dare you waste my time by being so worthless? I'll show you. Can't believe I'm doing this.
Bao muttered as he shot Trout again, aiming for lower in the demon's torso this time. Casting a healing spell on Patty, he raised his voice.
Hey, little rich boy. I'm your enemy. Over here. Commentary retracted,
Patty groaned, sitting up and shaking her head, as Trout charged Bao once more.
How the hell does something that looks so stupid hit like that? They call them demons for a reason.
Bao informed her as he dove out of Trout's way and was sideswiped again.
Ow. You're worthless too.
Trout ranted.
You're all worthless. Die. Just die and stop wasting my time. Time is zenny. A demon, and a total nutcase.
Patty held out one hand, and a tiny fireball shot out, burning into Trout's belly. Yelping, he turned to her, and she smirked.
Yeah, that was me, big boy. Want some more? Bring it on. Cut it out.
Bao told her as Trout blasted down towards her once more, moving up to the ceiling again.
You're in over your head.
At the last moment, she folded her wings and dropped to the floor, and Trout shot overhead. Her whip flicked out and wrapped around him, and he froze before dropping to the floor on his back, wriggling.
You were saying?
She asked archly.
Take the shot. Right.
Bao sighted carefully, then fired into Trout's left eye. His aim was true, and the bolt went in, but Trout only screamed in pain as he thrashed around, freeing himself from the whip.
Damn. Even that didn't do it. Shit.
Patty stared down as Trout rocked back to his upright position.
Any more ideas? Aside from pumping bolts into him until he bleeds out.
Bao shook his head.
Not really, and we probably wouldn't last that long. I can't keep healing us forever, you know. Hey, be glad you have healing magic.
Patty told him, flying up to do a somersault over another rush from Trout.
I barely even know any black magic at all, and I suck at that. I noticed.
Bao fired another bolt into where a kidney would be on a human, and growled as Trout simply turned and mowed him down once more, dislocating his shoulder.
Arg, damn it. This is bad. Shut up. Shut up, shut up, shut up.
Trout yelped, stopping near the stairs up.
You both talk too much. Money is the only thing worth talking about, and you don't have any.
And then, as he was about to charge again, a massive fire blast came down the stairs and blew him all the way down the hall, past both Bao and Patty, to slam into the wall.
Hey.
Patty blinked.
Him, too, hey.
A familiar voice asked after a moment, and Bao tensed up as Ryu walked down the stairs.
And to think we laughed the idea off. Guess that'll teach us to underestimate people next time. Ryu.
Bao muttered, both relief and guilt growing.
Damn it, man, you shouldn't have come. I didn't want to get you involved. That was your decision,
Ryu told him firmly.
Not mine. I say your problems are our problems, and if that's a problem, too freaking bad. You okay? Nothing a little of the old razzle-dazzle can't fix,
Bao replied, wincing as he healed himself once more.
Ah, that's better.
He was about to ask if Ryu had transformed into a dragon for the blast, but then he remembered Patty, and instead glanced at Trout.
We could have taken him, you know. Just saving time.
Ryu shrugged.
We don't have all night. Should probably get out of here before sunup. Best idea I've heard all night,
Patty agreed.
Well then, shall we, gentlemen?
The three of them began advancing on Trout as he lay in the corner, twitching slightly.
You're the one.
Trout gasped, one remaining eye staring up at Ryu.
You're the one they've been waiting for. The one they recruited me to keep an eye on. Listen to me, young man. You and your friends. You have to.
Whatever he was going to say was lost, as he broke off into a scream, black flames erupting from his body and covering him.
Lawton.
Patty gasped.
Damn.
Bao stared. They had told him about it, but hearing the stories and seeing it happen were two entirely different things.
Don't listen to them.
Trout howled as he died.
Don't go. Whatever you do, don't go there, Ryu. If you enter infinity, the world is doomed. All of us are doomed. God's time is at hand. I never wanted this. I never wanted this. Forgive me.
And then he screamed one more time, shrill and wordless, before collapsing into ashes. None of the three of them spoke for some time after that. They simply stared at the deceased Count's remains, each lost in their own thoughts.
We should get going,
Patty said eventually.
Yeah.
Bao shook his head.
Man, why'd you have to come down here? Now you're gonna catch the blame for murdering Trout and all these guards along with me. Hey.
Ryu started to say, then broke off as Patty held up a hand.
Don't worry about that,
she told them.
We'll just leave this door open, and the town guard will find this place when they investigate. Shouldn't take them too long to put the pieces together. Patty, the phantom thief, broke free from the torture pit and killed all those guys before escaping, cleaning out the treasure room in the process. You'll take the rap.
Bao blinked.
That's awful nice of you. With the circles I run in, it'll be just fine.
She winked.
Besides, nobody'll be able to say Trout didn't deserve it, after they see this place. Point,
Ryu agreed.
About that treasure room part, though? Leave the magic hood to us, hey? We really should return that to Duke Kilgore. Oh, fine.
She rolled her eyes, but kept smiling.
I guess I owe you that much for saving me. I'll be on my way, then.
She started to walk away, then paused.
You two have a lot to learn about stealing, but you're pretty good at killing freaks, I'll give you that much. And I guess you're okay guys. Good luck. Thanks,
Bao muttered as she disappeared up the stairs.
I think.
He sighed.
Boy, what a night. You're telling me.
Ryu's voice lost its casual tone.
What the hell were you thinking, man? Did you really think we wouldn't have helped you? I didn't want to get you involved,
Bao protested, then paused, remembering something.
Hey, wait a second. What do you mean, we? Come on.
Ryu shook his head.
You still haven't figured it out.
Before either of them could say anything more, dead guards began falling down the stairs, one after another.
All right, that's those two,
Kat's voice came from up the passage.
You get that one, and then we'll go back for the rest, right? Yeah,
Rand grumbled.
Geez, we're gonna need a mop for this one. My apologies,
Nina said, sounding embarrassed.
I got a little carried away. After what he did, can't blame you,
Sten chimed in.
I know if any asshole tried that on me, he'd be lucky to die that quickly. A most uncouth assembly of ruffians, the lot of them,
Jean commented.
Their fates were richly deserved, yes. Hey, this one's still moving.
Nero pointed out.
Come here, you. All of them.
Bao whispered, unable to believe his ears.
They all came. Did you really think they wouldn't?
Ryu shook his head.
You really are a dummy, man. Times have changed. We're not alone anymore.
He put a hand on Bo's shoulder.
I was wrong. It's not you and me against the world. It's all of us. They're with us, man. Every single one of them. No matter what.
A dozen different responses to that came to Bo's mind, but none of them seemed fitting. He stared at his hands, trying to think of what to say. Finally, he gave up and simply hummed the initial tune of an old barroom song, one he had heard 100 times.
Exactly.
Ryu grinned, recognizing it.
Now you're catching on. Ain't that right, guys?
Shouting up the stairs as he and Bao walked that way, he started to sing tunelessly.
Hey, the wind is blowing at your back, it's gotten mighty cold. The hunger's gnawing at you, and your bones are tired and old. It's another desperate day, and the world is full of pain,
Kat joined in as they emerged.
So forget about your troubles, come on in and drink your grain. Sing it. Hail, hail, the gang's all here.
Sten picked up the chorus cheerfully.
Leave your worries out there, boy, they ain't going anywhere. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. When there's nothing left for me, I know my friends will still be there. Hey, you're sleeping on the road, and the rain is coming down,
Rand continued.
You've been tossed out on your ass, 'cause you're not welcome in this town. You're down to your last zenny, and you know it won't last long,
Nina sang, light and clear.
So come on son, I know a place where mugs like us belong. Sing it. Hail, hail, the gang's all here.
Jean flicked his rapier in time with the words.
Leave your worries out there, boy, they ain't going anywhere. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. When there's nothing left for me, I know my friends will still be there. Get yourself together now, you garbled that last verse,
Nero crooned raucously.
Things sure could be better, but you know they could be worse. The odds might be against you, but you're not yet down and out,
Bao led them into the climax.
So let's all cheer, the gang's all here, and shout. Sing it.
All 8 of them sang together as they walked towards the door, the first light of sunrise peeping over the horizon through a window.
Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Leave your worries out there, boy, they ain't going anywhere. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. When there's nothing left for me, I know my friends will still be there. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Hail, hail, the gang's all here.
Me and my gang. End Book 1, Ranger.